Hi. In this video, I'm going to talk about the use of classical music in a scene in the 1995 BBC miniseries adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. And something I'm interested in is the question of what does music communicate, and does classical music connote to us the same things it did to people back when it was written? Now, in this scene, I think the question is, what does the music for falling in love sound like? Uh, I'll link to the scene below. And in this scene, two classical pieces are played at an evening party at Pemberley, Mr. Darcy's manor house. And this music mixes with the feelings of those present. So let me put it in context of the story. At this point in the story, Lizzie Bennet is traveling with her aunt and uncle, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner, and while they're staying in the neighborhood of Mr. Darcy's famous estate, they go and take a tour of Pemberley, where they stumble on, surprise, surprise, Mr. Darcy. Now, the aunt and the uncle think that Mr. Darcy has merely a trifling acquaintance with their niece, and that she has a not very good opinion of him. But when, after they meet him, immediately after comes and calls on them at their inn, they begin to suspect more. So I have a quote here from Jane Austen from this part of the book. The suspicions which had just arisen of Mr. Darcy and their niece directed their observation towards each with an earnest though guarded enquiry, and they soon drew from those enquiries the full conviction that one of them at least knew what it was to love. Of the lady's sensations, they remained a little in doubt, but that the gentleman was overflowing with admiration was evident enough. And Elizabeth herself, at this point in the story, she lies awake at night wondering what she feels towards Darcy, whom she actually did once hate, but has begun to see so differently. Now, invited by Darcy and his sister to come and visit him at Pemberley, to visit them at Pemberley, we come to this scene in the film. It's an evening party, and as it opens, Lizzie is accompanying herself on the pianoforte, singing an English translation of the Mozart aria Voi che sapete from his opera The Marriage of Figaro, which he wrote in 1786. Now, the great thing about opera is that we have a clue about what kind of emotion the composer thought the music was expressing or conveying, because he wrote it to words. And the lyrics to Voi che sapete are all about being overpowered and tossed about with strange new feelings. The lines the song opens with and closes with are, "You who know what love is, see if I have it in my heart." And I think it's interesting. "You who know what love is a very similar phrase to the one Austen used about Darcy. One of them at least knew what it was to love. So I think this song was chosen in this scene very deliberately. It's a song of love with questioning. We learn that from the lyrics, but in that song, when it begins with these lines, "You who know what love is, ladies, tell me if it's in my heart." It begins with those lines, and then it works through some descriptions, and then there's a recapitulation where you come back to those lines, and that's what we hear in the movie, the restatement of the original question of, "Is love in my heart?" But really, at that point in the aria, the answer is a definitive yes. And I think this is the answer Elizabeth is finding, and as she sings here in the movie, to quote Jane Austen, that the gentleman is overflowing with admiration is evident enough as well. So after she finishes singing, she persuades Darcy's sister, Georgiana, to play, and Georgiana begins playing Beethoven's Andante Favori, published in 1805, and the scene is choreographed to fit with the music. So as Georgiana is approaching the modulation, um, the piece switches keys from F to D flat. Though in the movie, interestingly enough, she's playing in E and she's going to modulate to C, but that's not super important. But anyway, as Georgiana is approaching the modulation, Lizzie's enemy, Miss Bingley, trying to score off her, says something that she thinks will, hurt Elizabeth in Darcy's eyes, but she doesn't know all the facts that this is also a sensitive topic that will upset Georgiana and will make Darcy upset about it. It's make Darcy upset about her upsetting his sister. So she unintentionally upsets Georgiana, who's playing, and 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 Lizzie handles the situation beautifully, and she rushes over and says, "Oh, do you need someone to turn the pages for you?" Georgiana plays the wrong chord, and um, Lizzie rushes over there, but of course it's so early in the piece. I don't think she would need anyone to turn the pages for her, but she covers, and as Georgiana she covers for her, and as Georgiana settles into the new key, Darcy settles down into the sofa, and then. Um, as it returns, I think if I remember right, as it returns to the original key, as it comes back to the original theme, the two, Darcy and Elizabeth, seem to resign themselves to love, and Andante Favori transcends being just what happened to be played at an early 19th century party, and has become definitively, with the added orchestration, the musical theme of their romance for us, the modern audience watching the movie. So the question I have is, does that theme feel of a person of today like resigning yourself to love, like falling in love? Um, I stumbled upon someone writing about this scene who said the switch from Mozart to Beethoven in this scene contrasts Lizzie's rational classicism to Miss Darcy's romantic era instability, or like that Mozart and represents sense, and Lizzie and Beethoven represents sensibility and Georgiana. But it's cool that someone's writing about this scene, but that's just wrong. Both both of the pieces are about the same thing. They're about Darcy and Elizabeth being in love and falling in love. Now, when I'm listening to classical radio, I often play the game where I guess who the composer is. You do that. You're riding in the car and you turn on the classical radio station. We have a great classical radio station here in my area, and you guess who it is. And if it sounds that if it sounds really from that classical Mozartian period, I'm like, is it Haydn or is it Mozart? If it makes me want to fall in love, I say, it's Mozart. Um, but Beethoven, of course, I often more associate with um, his heroic, confident, dramatic sound. But here he shows he's not a one-trick pony. He's, as they say, a master of many. Now, I definitely hear Andante Favore as being in love. And before looking into this, I thought that it was just an instrumental piece with a nondescript title and no lyrics, so that there was no way of telling what Beethoven was thinking or wanted to communicate to us. But researching, I discovered that Beethoven actually enclosed the Andante Favore in a letter to the Countess Josefina Dame, a letter in which he called it Your Andante said how happy she made him and how it hurt him to see her sad, and which he signed off, "Farewell, angel of my heart." So that might shed some light on what Beethoven felt this piece of music expressed. Um, and even some people say that the that this motif, da 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 da, is saying Josephina, Josephina, which I don't know, but it does to me have a feeling of sort of falling, of resigning yourself, of just falling in love. So you out there who know what love is, to quote Mozart, tell me, don't these pieces express it? I think they're very well chosen for the film. All right, so you can watch the clip down below, and thanks for watching.